this is Linda Cohn from ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by our great friends at Welch & Company Jewelers, Sit Means Sit Syracuse, and Brewerton Ace Hardware. If you're in and around Central New York, they've got some amazing house supplies. They have grills. They've got some pickles and barbecue sauce that they sell on site as well from local business distributors. Brewerton Ace Hardware. It's a great place to be. Go check them out. They've got it from potting soil to outdoor equipment to grills. You name it, everything in between. They got a bunch of snacks and drinks while you're there as well. Brewerton Ace Hardware is a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Tip of the cap, thank you as well to the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group, Camillus Golf Club, and the Whitaker and Swan families for all the support of the ML Sports Platter. Super excited to talk some Major League Baseball and talk about, in a couple of weeks, this guy's getting honored as a Hall of Famer at the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame induction. Can't wait to be there. I'll be there with the group from BallNine. He is a lead writer for BallNine. You can check him out at BallNine.com. At AMBS_Kernan. That's at AMBS_Kernan. Kevin Kernan, back to the platter. How are you, buddy?
Always good to be with you, Mike.
So, look, the Yankees pulled some of the fans back in. They get a couple of lefties, power guys, Rizzo, Gallo. They sweep the Marlins. Nothing's changed with this team, right? I mean, you can't go and lose and get murdered at home by the Orioles in the first game of that series. Come on.
But they would have lost two of the Marlins games, too. The Marlins play better defense.
True.
And the Marlins have good pitching. They don't have much of anything else. And it's just it's first of all, we said it way back when, first time you had me on the show. I didn't like this lineup, no lefties. They finally wake up, get a couple lefties. And you got to wonder why it took so long to realize that it takes left-handers to win at Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, isn't that the most obvious thing in the history of Yankee Stadium? So it just shows their arrogance as to they know better than you know better. And it's kind of like it's a little bit of elitism, and that's what the Yankees are right now. They're a very elitist team. And they, like I said, they finally, brought in Rizzo. Rizzo's got a nice, solid swing, and I will say this, he's on top of the plate. I think he can help Joey Gallo a little bit. Joey's a big swing and miss guy. Every scout I've talked to said that he's not the answer, but, he's better than what they had. I mean, what they were doing. It also shows, let's not let Clint Frazier off the hook here.
Yeah.
Or Brian Cashman for that trade. That was supposed to be a reloading trade. Okay, we'll live with the losing one year, but now we got the legendary bat speed guy in left field, and he's never hit over 180. Never showed that he really has any understanding of the game that you really need to be a championship player. And very nice kid, but it hasn't worked out for him. So that tells me. All these things I found out with one phone call that he was way back when. So that they don't scout like they used to scout, or I think here's what's really happening: they do scout like they used to scout, but they don't listen to the scouts. And Andrew Haney, good example. I mean, another nice kid, but
terrible acquisition. I mean,
yeah. He gave 16 home runs, and I think for the Angels he allowed, and he's playing in a big ballpark out there. What do you think's going to happen here?
Yeah.
But that speaks to who's making the decisions. They didn't do anything about the pitching in the offseason other than hire guys that Eric Cressy told them to hire, like Kluber and things like that. And that's gone downhill, and it's getting worse. They may get on a run. They may make the playoffs because that second wild card is a crappy team anyway.
Yep.
But how in the world are they going to face the precise pitching that you see and power pitching? This is what I really noticed about the Yankees. I want to make this point clear. I don't know why guys fool around. So you got to mix in a slider here and there, but you can throw fastballs past the Yankees. That's what I've really noticed. So that tells me they're sitting on a lot of slow stuff. The other thing is Odor. He takes such a big swing. He's got baseball talents. He can bunt. He can do different things. Hit the other way. They shift him, and he won't hit the other way. And he pops up. Mike, how many pop-ups and flyouts are we seeing in baseball now across the board because of the launch angle swing? It's a joke.
Yep.
And the nerds keep saying it's great for baseball, it's great for home runs, blah, blah, blah. If you watch a game now, I watched a game the other day. I think it was an Angels game, and I must have seen 15 pop-ups in the game.
Awful.
And I call pop-up anything that's a flyout nowadays because the ball is so juiced. If you don't hit it to the wall, it's a pop-up. And that's where we're at. That's where the Yankees are at. The Red Sox are in a little bit of a slump right now, so that could help the Yankees. They should have went out. They should have stepped up and got Rizzo. But again, they're run by a nerd now, so it's a different kind of Red Sox. It's not the Dave Dombrowski Red Sox that would have went out there and got the best player they could have gotten. So they're run by a nerd, so they don't want to give up. I call it prospect hugging. They all hug their prospects way too much. And, good for the Giants. They went out and got Chris Bryant and, paid what they had to pay to get him. And I love to see that kind of stuff. So, I'm rooting for the Giants and the Dodgers, and the Padres have their issues out there. But I'm kind of shifting my focus now to watch teams in the West more than the East.
Let me tell you what, you bring up something really interesting with the scouting part. That second part that you said, it really stuck with me. Where you were like, hey, maybe they are scouting like they used to, but they're not listening to the scouts. What if inside there somewhere, the scouts are actually just forced to look for the things that the analytic people want, as opposed to baseball stuff?
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are.
That's got to be a major issue. I mean.
Yeah, and a little example of that. And it's not a major example, so I don't want to make anybody to hear what I'm saying here, but there's a kid I wanted to see this year that the Yankees they do have some players that kind of, sometimes excite me, and I want to see the kid play. I wanted to see Hoyt Park play.
Me too.
Hoyt Park had a .475 on-base percentage. 475.
Yep.
That doesn't just happen. And scouts that I've talked to have told me about this kid all year long. And they said that he has an Ichiro ability to if the pitch isn't down and low, he'll drop the hammer on, drop the head on. He'll go the other way. He's not Ichiro. They're not saying that, but he has that kind of ability. And why not, make a run with this kid? Once you he could have been playing. He could have been playing second base this whole time instead of Odor. I mean, how many pop-ups do I have to endure with Odor, so to speak? And but again, they traded him away for Clay Holmes, and another writer that they can burn out in the bullpen, and because they're hurting Chad Green and things like that. So the scouts, I've known a lot of Yankee scouts through the years. They're good scouts, but my gut tells me that they're not being listened to, or they're being pushed in a different direction.
Unbelievable. Kevin Kernan, BallNine, guest here on the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by Liverpool Physical Therapy and Bryant and Stratton College. I know for the contract, the numbers probably aren't as... They're not as good. They're not taken as seriously, et cetera, et cetera. But I think this year, Bryce Harper's had a pretty nice year. I mean, I've seen some Philly games. He's hitting the ball all over the place. He's got his average up over 300. I know we talk about, the batting average thing. It does matter. RBI, they matter. I think Harper's having he's not going to have a 330, a Willie Mays, Mantle, Ted Williams type of year. Not even going to have a Harper MVP season. He's not going to be in the 320, 120 RBI and 40 home run territory. But Kevin, do you see things out of Harper that you like this year?
I do see things. I want to see him do more, though. I want him to hit the ball the other way. When he gets in that total pull mode,
yeah, that's true.
He pulls himself. It's real simple what he does. I think he's got some injuries too.
Yeah.
And this is an educated guess on my part because I've been watching baseball forever. But I've seen some plays in the outfield that have really disturbed me with throws and the way he's approached the ball. So there's got to be something going on there that we don't know. And but I will give. He's a battler. Harper's a battler, and this is another example of the obvious getting away from the Yankees. Harper would have loved to have been a Yankee, and he went to Philly. I was told from people who should know. The reason he went to Philly because he thought he was going to break the all-time home run record because it was such a home run park.
Huh.
And that's why he opted to go there. Obviously, the money was there, of course, but the money would have been he would have got big money anywhere. I don't know how the Yankees couldn't couldn't finish that one off either. But when he was having his tryout at Yankee Stadium, I knew the guy who was doing batting practice to him, and he hit a bunch in the upper deck, and he said, and they said, I think he was still a high school kid or just out of high school, and he said at the time, he told when the pitcher congratulated him, "Hey, nice job, kid." He goes, "I'll be doing that here in a couple of years." So he thought the Yankees would be in his future in some way, and they haven't. But you're right. He's he tries hard, he plays hard, and you don't hear him. You don't hear a lot of squabbling from him. You don't hear issues upsetting him. Like already, we've seen so much with Lindor in New York.
Yep.
He's a little prima donna. I mean, come on. I mean, he's telling the fans not to boo. I'm really upset because they boo Michael Conforto.
Mm-hmm.
Conforto's hit 200. Conforto will boo. I know Michael well. He'd be booing himself. Mm. So you know what, Lindor, worry about yourself. And that's very interesting too that they got Baez, because I think that's a Lindor move. Don't forget that Lindor is very close to the owner. So a lot of these decisions you're seeing made, I think, are Lindor influenced. So that's another thing. I know it's a little bit away from the Harper thing, but you got me in my NL East mood, and the 2.5 back now, 3 in the loss column, the Phillies, and the Mets are somehow messing this thing up.
I was just going there. Do you think the Mets will miss the playoffs?
I can't see how. They should have run away with this division. Dombrowski, Ian Kennedy is not the answer, but you know what? Ian Kennedy's a tough kid. I've known him since he was a rookie. Smart kid. Fun kid, got a great sense of humor. He'll battle. He's already given up some home runs, but he survived. And he may be able to teach some of those guys who are so wild on that staff too. Like chill out a little bit. Don't try to throw everything 103 miles per hour, and bring it down to like 96 with some command. And so that's what's got to happen for the Phillies to beat the Mets. The other relievers have to get it together. That's the answer. I'm very concerned about the Mets in a lot of ways. Baez, his talent is worth taking a shot at. Sure, certainly. And Lindor, Baez would be a dynamic middle infield. You could see that coming. The day that McNeil and Lindor got into it, that was the end of McNeil in my mind as second baseman for the Mets. Lindor would find a way to bring, to kind of like bring his buddy over, and here we are. It's going to be interesting to see how the Mets develop. The DeGrom thing is just really frightening. Again, I think I said it last time on the show, why throw 100 all the time? Why? You don't need to. You have a great delivery. You don't need that extra stress. So we'll see where he certainly if DeGrom is out, then the Mets are in huge trouble. And Atlanta can't get out of their own way. They don't know what they're doing. The decisions they made in the front office are perplexing from last winter. That's the thing. The division was handed to the Mets. Handed to them. Washington's a joke. And the Marlins can't really pay for hitters. It's really that simple. They've developed some nice pitching, but they don't pay enough for hitters. So that division should be the easiest division in baseball to win, and somehow the Mets have messed it up. And we'll see. If DeGrom is out, I could see the Phillies overtaking them, and that would be quite the story.
Kevin, back in the 90s dynasty days for the Yankees, the Jeter, Mariano, Torre, 4 World Series in 5 years, all the pennants, all the division championships, all the 100-win seasons, all the Hall of Famers. They built, obviously, a lot of it through the farm system with Pettit, Bernie, Posada, Mariano, Jeet, and others. Some role players, some bullpen guys, whatever the case may be. But the national narrative and the anti-Yankee narrative was still, well, the payroll, they'd win the World Series, they should win, the payroll, the cable deals were starting to come in, MSG and all the other ones at that time. Well, let's fast forward to 2021. The LA Dodgers have a $272 million payroll. They just won the World Series. They just got Max Scherzer, who's going to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. They just got Trey Turner. They acquired Mookie Betts. I know they do a lot with the farm system, but where's the national outcry? Where are the columns? Where's the complaining about the Dodgers in baseball with what they're doing?
Yeah, the number I've heard was 274, but why quibble over a couple million? And I will say this, though, the Dodgers will move their prospects. And in some ways, the Dodgers have taken from Stick Michaels, all those names you mentioned. Stick Michael had a core of Yankee guys he wouldn't trade, and he had another set of prospects he would trade. And those are the trades he made when he needed to fill a hole. And I think the people, especially in L.A., I worked in Southern California for 10 years in San Diego. The media has a different mindset out there, and they're so desperate for winning. They hadn't won since '88 that I think they let all that stuff slide. So the Yankees are always going to, because of the big personality of Steinbrenner, the Yankees are always going to be looked at as U.S. Steel, and also what the Yankees did in the '50s and '60s. That's in the early '60s. That's who they were. So the Dodgers still have that. The previous generations looked at them from the Brooklyn standpoint. They're kind of lovable Dodgers, the bums. And I think that's kind of carried on out there. And they've been so happy to have the Dodgers out there that there's not that same kind of criticism that you get. And because it's out in the West Coast, the people in the East Coast, they don't seem to care. Because I remember all the years when Tony Gwynn went winning batting titles, nobody really had a clue how good he was. And it's just that East Coast, West Coast thing. And the Dodgers do, they do a good job of promoting their young guys, and it looks like they have, the Walker Buehlers, the catcher and some other people. It looks like they promote from within a lot. But, yeah, they're spending a ton of money. And the Padres are right behind them for a small market team. I mean, they're spending more. My feeling is real simple with baseball. If you got it, you can spend it. I think there should be I think there should be a hard cap, but there also should be a soft cap where you got to spend a certain amount of money.
Right.
It's really terrible what's happening with the game with some of these great baseball cities that are so desperate for baseball victory, and all the we know all the numbers, the billions of dollars the franchises are worth. So I don't ever. I've always been this way. I don't know why it is. I can't explain why, but I never get upset with teams spending money, so it never really bothers me. What bothers me is when they don't spend money, and what bothers me is when the Yankees are congratulated for making deals where somebody else is paying for Rizzo or Gallo, and Cashman stayed under the whatever they. Yeah, I give a crap. I mean, that's. Meanwhile, you're paying ridiculous amounts of money for everything with the Yankees. So why are you making them more money? They've been making money since 1927. Go spend it, and. This, we haven't touched on it, but this basically comes, everything with the Yankees comes from Hal Steinbrenner right now. That's why they're so mediocre, because Hal hasn't, until Hal's all in, the Yankees won't be all in. It's really that simple, or the next owner. Now, Steve Cohen is all in, which is interesting, but he's being a little too, in command right now. And look at we didn't touch it, but the Kamar Rock.
Oh, God, I was going to bring that up. Horrible.
Yeah, I mean, you do. You got everything covered. You're excellent at what you do, and I hate to jump ahead.
No, please do, because that is Kevin, that is as absurd a situation with a guy coming out with that kind of ability and that kind of money for a big market team. That should have been done. That's one of those deals like you plan to sign. Hey, we're planning to sign him today. Should have been done yesterday. Well,
it should have been done yesterday, but obviously, if there was some thought, and I watched the College World Series. I was very involved. I loved it this year. I really got into the College World Series because I can't, like the way the major leaguers are playing drives you nuts. So at least the College World Series guys play, and I watched them go through, and you could see, just watching, I could see that his velocity was down terribly. I talked to a couple scouts. They told me something's going on there. So you had to know, first of all. They know. They're not that dumb. Second of all, you got to have people on him for months, if you got a chance to get Rocker. So you got to have scouts on him from day one. And then you got to know his signability. And then here's the most perplexing thing, though. I think this was a line in the sand move by Scott Boras. Scott Boras is very close to Washington ownership. That's why all those deals happen with Washington, with his clients. I think he's trying to make a statement here for the future with Cohen. I'll work with you, but I'm not going to be a pushover. And I think that's something that everybody's kind of missed here. The fact that if I'm Scott Boras, I want to have my guys signed with the Mets so I have future relationship with the guy with all the money in baseball. Basically, it's really common sense. And I know Scott so well. I know how he's so smart. And so there's something deeper going on here. And the fact that the Mets, first of all, didn't realize it, or medical, they're paying DeGrom all this money now too, and he's hurt. So where do you draw the line? I mean, it must be. I'm guessing, and I'm just guessing. I'm throwing this out here. It must be a shoulder issue. That's the only thing I can think of. If it's an elbow issue, all these teams always say, we'll bite the bullet, let him get to Tommy John, and he'll be better when he in a year and a half, hopefully. So yeah, that's when you're putting up billboards of guys and stuff like that, it's so Mets-like though. But it's like everything. The Mets do some wacky stuff, and it's kind of what makes them endearing. But at the same time, it's a scary thing, and you can't afford. I don't care who you are. Which brings me to another great point. Theo Epstein was going to rebuild the Cubs, right? He rebuilt them because they finished in last place and they had top picks. They never got the conveyor belt of talent going. They win one World Series because nobody's won a back-to-back since those Yankees teams you mentioned earlier. But nobody is really doing as promised as front offices. They're not. They may win a World Series, but then they fall right back out. They can't really. That's what makes, to me, the Dodgers interesting. Because they're trying to sustain it. And if they sustain it, then good for them. And that's what we need to see more in baseball, because it's always good. Another team, too, I want to just mention, I think they did a nice job, was Milwaukee making a trade early. Willie Adames, getting him, even though he strikes out a ton. He's a gutsy player. And so there are some teams that have done some good things. The White Sox getting a second closer. Tony Luis is a mad scientist, and giving him another closer, even though Kimbrel's had his problems in the postseason, that's a great move. That's a great move by the White Sox. So the White Sox right now are kind of like under the radar as well. And I know we're going to hear it all about the White Sox when they play in the cornfield game in Iowa. And they all step out, and they all step out of the cornfield, and Manfred has fooled the media once again, thinking that baseball is a game for the little people. And here these guys, it's such a. Go back to who we were, and meanwhile he's pushing the rubber back a foot and this and that, and the ball is so juiced, and why are they doing these things with pitching when, if you look at the scores, they're outrageously high, most of these scores. So it's really scary stuff, and if the Yankees fall off the face of the playoff earth, then you got another chance to see things like. Lowest rated World Series down the road. So a lot going on in baseball. We all love the sport, but at the same time, we hate seeing what's going on.
Kevin Kernan, BallNine, couple more for you. KK here, and make sure you follow him on Twitter at @AMBS_Kernan, and of course, BallNine.com, the ML Sports Platter, all over it here on the MLB scene with KK, brought to you by Bryant and Stratton College and the Syracuse Fitness Store. I'm not sure that I'd want to be anybody else besides the Houston Astros right now. Isn't that unbelievable? I mean, we talked about them maybe being the best team in the AL. Kevin, I don't know. I mean, they might be the best team in the game.
I don't disagree. When they're healthy, they got to stay healthy.
True.
Because, there's back problems with Correa. And he's I love my time when I used to get sent out to cover the Astros. I love that clubhouse. I love their baseball mentality. And that's been lost, and I know that the cheaters and the trash cans and all that stuff, and guys like Alex Cora would they want to win, and I'm certainly not condoning what they did. But I also think other teams were cheating. But getting Graveman is a classic example. You go to Capoto, who's kind of a nerd. He's definitely a nerd, but he's a ball player nerd, which makes him even more dangerous. And a guy that thinks he knows everything. This goes back to, I know people who were on the same teams with him. This is who he is. So you take his guy who's got electric stuff. I mean, the stuff he's throwing, Graveman, it'll work this year. And you trade for him, so you strengthen something that you need. And don't forget, they've lost Springer and things like that. So they've lost some talent. But Dusty Baker's a great baseball man. I'm sure he has some influence over that. Tony Luis, another great baseball man. Older guys. Other
than trying, getting Harold Baines into the Hall of Fame by himself, LaRusse is a good baseball guy.
Exactly. I know that's another complete story. I just did a story I'm also writing for Aaron Rodgers' website called OSDB.
Drama.com.
Online sports database. It's a pretty good. It's a really interesting website.
Yeah, it is.
Because and I did a big piece on Josh Rawitz, the new president of the Hall of Fame, who's a really good guy. I've known him forever. And the whole different things are happening sometimes. Where that's why the Yankees missed the boat. They should have had that Veterans Committee stuff when they could have got Munson in. They don't do those things. They don't happen. So it's crazy. But back to the Astros. Yes, the Astros, and they have a great. They pitch well. They play well there. They play with an attitude. And the home runs that Altuve has hit against the Yankees this year have really set the tone for who they are deep down. And they're going to be fun to watch in the postseason as well.
All right, I got one more on the baseball side, and I want to take a couple minutes and honor you. We've got a big event coming up here in just under 2 weeks up in Troy, New York. Vlad Guerrero Jr., when you watch him play baseball, what do you see? What goes through your mind? What about the hitting? How he approaches the game? What do you because I think when he's up, it's just stop right now. Here we go. Watch this guy. What do you see when you watch him play?
Well, I see a guy who's really taught well, understands the game well, and doesn't listen to the nerds. And that's key. That's key. And because he'll take the little ground ball, hit the second base if they shift on him. He'll do things like that. But he's and I had a chance to meet him and spend some time chatting with him when his dad got inducted up in Cooperstown. And he's got great baseball IQ. He's worked himself into shape, and the thing that gets nobody even should get more credit is he's become quite the first baseman. He's worked really hard to do a good job there. So he's the future. He's the future. He's as exciting as Tatis, but not in a flashy kind of way. And I think he has obviously more, in my mind, more power and things like that. So I think he's going to be a beast. And I think the Blue Jays, some of the deals they made, I think the Blue Jays are going to be real trouble for the Yankees moving ahead down the road as well. Not to get off the subject of Vlad, but when you have that kind of young talent, I think if they had just, they did strengthen the pitching, but if they strengthen a little bit more for years to come, Vlad's, like you said, he's must-watch baseball TV, and he's enthusiastic about the game, but it's not too much over the top. It's like there's also a little bit of put your head down and run pride too. So I love everything about him.
Yeah, no doubt. Love watching him come up through the minors. I know I told you that story where he hit that ball right center field and it went over the power lines and over the trees, and I said, my gosh, I don't think that ball's going to land. And I stopped because I didn't have to do any on-field stuff for a little bit. Was just kind of waiting it out to see if I had to do a post-game interview, and I said, I'm standing right here and I'm watching every single second of this at bat because this guy could be all that and more. Finally, KK, we're nearing it. Summer's flying. It's going so fast. And we're coming up here to the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame in Troy, New York. I'll be there. It's on a Sunday, August 15th, and you're going in. So I wanted to just kind of give you a couple of minutes to talk about what it means to you and, giving you a huge congratulations. And I think, for what it's worth, I think one day you should be up there in Cooperstown on Main Street as well.
I appreciate that, Mike. It's an unbelievable honor, and Cooperstown, I think, to be quite honest, there's no shot. It's a different world. I love Cooperstown, but I think with that award, the way it's given out, I don't think I have a shot for that. So this is plenty for me. I'm very happy with this. And my dear friend Nick Cafaro, who passed away a couple years ago, just got into Cooperstown.
Yeah, great guy.
And that's great to see. So they did a great job with that. But yeah, it's going to be. I'm kind of like. If I were a player, I'd be one of those guys, the highs and lows. I'd bury you if I had to, but I don't get too excited about things. And
except coming on this show.
Yeah, of course. I get fired up when I talk about baseball, and I think that's the bottom line with this thing is that this rewards me for my passion for the game, and my non-agenda for the game. I write what I feel, and I don't care if you're my best friend, but if you're screwing up, I'm going to criticize you. And if you really go south, then you're really in trouble. But I also write on, I can write a very touching story about, I think back, thank God. God gave me this talent. I just kind of got lucky, because who knows what I'd be doing. But I think of all the stories I've written. I mean, even something as simple, like I was going through something the other day, and, Goodwin, the first base coach for the Red Sox, when his son had committed suicide, and I was able to get him to talk about that a few years ago in the playoffs,
Goodness.
and it was an amazing story. And I'm not saying that because I wrote it, because it's what he had to say that made it amazing. So being able to kind of like be a conduit for those people, and also even just the relationships I have shows you that I've been respected by those who played the game. I was mentioning something about hitting yesterday in Twitter, and all of a sudden, Mike Piazza.
I saw that. Yeah,
Mike's a great guy. He jumped right in with his thoughts, and obviously his hitting thoughts are unbelievable, because he's Mike Piazza, Hall of Famer. He's taking instruction from Ted Williams when his father Vince brought him over to the house. So he carries unbelievable weight of knowledge, and but he's jumping in there, and that just shows you, basically defending my point, and this whole what they're doing to the game. That's why I'm so adamant about it, and I'm gonna enjoy the weekend. My speech isn't gonna be long. You know what I'm gonna do? I might just mention a little bit about what it's like to be a writer, because everybody knows what Hall of Famers, what they did on the field and things like that. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'll tell a couple stories and just let people know. But there's a lot more, Lou Piniella, Tino Martinez, tons of people. Scout like Johnny Morris from Long Island, great guy. Mm-hmm. It's Rene LaRue and the board up there did an unbelievable job with the people they have going in, and it should be. Actually, I'll be leaving soon because I'm driving up, and I'm going to visit some families here and there, and make my way up there. And looking forward to the weekend. Should be great. My kids are coming, so it's going to be a nice little. And my youngest, who's now 30, it'll be his birthday, so that's special.
Oh, too. Look at that! No kidding. All right, well, that's going to be great. I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to meet the cast at BallNine as well. BallNine.com, the lead baseball writer for that unbelievable platform, Kevin Kernan, on Twitter at @AMBS_Kernan. KK, thanks so much, bud. I'll see you real soon. All right.
Great to talk to you, and hopefully the Bills stay up there.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by our great friends over at Bryant and Stratton College. Make sure you check them out, bryantstratton.edu. 2 great campus locations if you're in and around Central New York, in Liverpool and in Syracuse on James Street. They've got 2- and 4-year degrees, new programs popping up all over the place, including a brand new nursing program as well. bryantstratton.edu. Finish and fill out that questionnaire online, and they can help place you, help craft what you're really looking for. And when you get out of Bryant and Stratton College, the success rate of getting jobs, it's extremely high. BryantStratton.edu, Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, the official ML Sports Platter college sponsor. A big tip of the cap thank you as well to the Al and Angus Pub, Prestwick Golf, Syracuse Fitness Store, and our good friend Heather Saxton over there at Hunt Real Estate, buying and selling homes. You need help there with Heather, go find her on Facebook, Heather at Hunt. She's terrific. She's a licensed real estate professional and a big supporter of the program. So thank you, Heather, for all you do. And again, buying and selling a home, man, it's stressful. It takes up time. Heather makes it smooth for you. Heather Saxton of Hunt Real Estate, the official real estate agent of the ML Sports Platter. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports. Thanks for listening. And as I always tell you, enjoy the games.